What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video. It's already week 5 somehow. I suppose there's 2 games tonight, but after that, it'll be week 5, which is really wild. Not the best week, honestly, for the waiver wire. Woody Marks is very clearly the top target, but after him, unless someone happened to drop someone really good, it's unlikely you're like pumped about anything you're going after on free agency. Of course, we'll go over every position though. So yeah, Woody Marks, clear top option, worth the number 1 claim. I'll say that in all league sizes. Right now, I have him for 31% of your fab as a suggestion in 12-team leagues. That gets lower as you move towards 10 and 8-team leagues, much higher if he's available in a 14 or a 16-team league. So not like empty the fab, kind of like it was for Trey Benson last week. I don't think you're putting 100% on him, but it's also up to your team. If you went really running back heavy and you're like, honestly, even if he hits, I'm probably not playing him, I'd still go after him because he'd still be a good option for you to trade, but you wouldn't necessarily have to go after him with like 100%. If you went really wide receiver heavy, and even if you hit on those wide receivers, and you haven't crushed at running back yet, and you kind of went RB0 light, something like that, and you really need a running back, I would be fine emptying all my fab on him. The reasons I'm not as pumped as I was with like Trey Benson last week is Trey Benson, we're pretty sure, is going to be relatively featured all season. Like he's going to get most of the carries, most of the goal line work, the receptions. Like he's going to have a very large role on a pretty good team, not like an elite team, but a pretty good team. That's not necessarily the case for Marks. I think it was great this last week. He jumped up to a 56% snap share. He's been going up every week. And I think it's great we saw the carries, right? We had 17 carries. It's great seeing that because we weren't 100% sure before. We were like, well, he's going to win the passing down job, but will he get the carries? He does last week, so we see that, and he looks fantastic. He, in my opinion, has iced Chubb, so I do think he's a starter moving forward. Chubb, I mean, again, like we've said every week, he looks very old. I know he had like the 1 touchdown run so far this season, but everything else has been very, very mediocre. He's iced him. He's going to be the starter. The problem is, in the short term, you're at Baltimore, then you're on bye. So if you were hoping that Woody Marks could be like a running back 2 for you for this next like month and really like help you out of a hole, again, at Baltimore, I don't know if he's going to project very well in that game, and then on bye. When he returns from bye, after that, maybe we will be looking to him as kind of like that low-end running back 2 each week, but we don't know. I don't think Mixon's going to play this season. We technically don't know with that. I don't know. I think there's more unknowns. It's a much worse team, right? They play the Titans. Everyone looks like this against the Titans. They're competing for worst team in the NFL, but right now they're winning that competition. They're an epic matchup for running backs. You're not going to win 26-0 against the Titans every week. So temper expectations. Again, my thought right now is 31. If you wanted to go closer to like 50% to make sure you get him, sure. I just don't think it's someone you're just like emptying all your fab on, but worth the number 1 claim. If you miss out on Marks, but you need a running back, I would say, I suppose the next best option is Kenneth Gainwell. He looked fantastic. I will say, like, I was so surprised with how good he looked. Given that, I don't think Caleb's playing this year. Like, maybe he'll get a couple touches, but I do not think Caleb Johnson is going to play at running back unless we get like a long-term, because I don't think the Jalen Warren injury is long-term. If we got a long-term injury to Warren, to Gainwell, sure, but there's just no way they can put Caleb onto the field when both Warren and Gainwell have looked this good. Issue with him is they're on bye this week. And then after that, they get a brutal matchup with Cleveland, who's the best run defense in the NFL. So another guy where it's like if you were looking to try and add Gainwell, be like, oh, is like Warren going to miss time? Can I use him moving forward? Well, they're on bye. So that's not going to help you this week. And then even if Warren were out the next week, I don't know if I'd play him against the Browns. So I would certainly roster him if you had Warren, right? Like if you had Jalen Warren, I would go after Gainwell, and every time basically Warren doesn't play, I would play him. You probably should have done that this last week. But if you don't have Warren, honestly, someone's probably going to spend a lot of fab to get Gainwell, and he looked good, so he like should be rostered. So if you want to put a few bucks on him, sure, a few percent of your fab, maybe you're like the 5th or 6th claim, and you're like, I don't know, worth putting on my bench, sure, because again, he looked good, but I'm not super pumped. After him, it is Kendre Miller. been increasing. It's been very slow, but he's been increasing his snap share every week. That's great to see. Got up to 11 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown this last week because they went really run heavy, even though obviously they were playing Buffalo, right? That's a tough team. That's how you beat Buffalo, is by running on them. So they attempted to do that. Honestly, it was a valiant effort. They put up more of a fight than I think a lot of people were expecting. But yeah, decent game for Kendre. Unfortunately, the Saints are in that competition for worst team in the league with, the Panthers, the Titans, and the Browns. So twofold here. One, that's bad because you've got what you're hoping at some point becomes a lead running back who will not catch passes and is on a team that's probably going to win 2-3 games this season, not going to score very many points. Not great. Like even Alvin Kamara as a lead back with what is supposed to be a good passing down role that has not come to fruition this season, even he is not that valuable in fantasy. So odds we get Kendre Miller, where we're starting with running back 2, slim, because you also have Devin Neal that could also be there. But I bring up that they're bad because, yeah, there's a world where like they're not going to trade Kamara, but maybe by the end of the season they're like, listen, like we're not using you, like we don't run you into the ground, like it's not it this season. We're not going to use him anymore. We're going to go with like see what we have in Kendre, see what we have in Devin Neal, and that they're getting the touches, and maybe we can bank on like 11 to 13 touches a week from Kendre, and at that point, could you play running back 2? Maybe. But still, I would say for those of you in 8, 10-team leagues, not great. I think fine as a bench play. In a 12-team league, definitely 14, 16-team league, you should be rostered. But most weeks, the Saints game plan will be different than this, and they're still not going to win that many games, so he's just fine. After Kendre, if you want to take a flyer on Chris Rodriguez, Brashard Smith, Xavier Scott, you can do it. It's a group that I wouldn't even consider in 8 or 10-team leagues. For most of you in 12-team leagues, you can probably ignore them too unless your team is really struggling at running back and you just got to take some shots. Rodriguez has looked good given opportunities in camp, in the preseason, the NFL. Like there's a world here where they're like, you know what, we actually do want him to be the lead back. Then you get maybe Daniels coming back. This offense really elevates and he has value. The problem that we've always talked about with Washington and why we didn't want to jump on the JCM bandwagon too much because we got the hype. We were ahead of the hype. But then once the hype just steamed into these like single-digit rounds, it's like, okay, even with the Eckler injury, we're in a 3 running back committee with a hypermobile quarterback, whether it's Daniels or it's Mariota. So even if you had Chris Rodriguez overtake JCM, that's good for what? 8, 9, 10 carries, 0 targets? How valuable really is that? Are you ever actually going to start that? So another guy where it's like, sure, he's looked good, but the opportunity, even with another season-long injury, if that were to happen, it's still just not there on this backfield. And I do think JCM is still a better running back. Brashard Smith, a little bit more usage this week. He's someone that people have been excited about, kind of in camp this year. He's a rookie this season. Problem with him is that will always be a 3 running back by committee on a pass-first offense. And Kansas City's come out and said like they do not view Brashard Smith as an early down back. So he'll have to get all the work in the receiving game. Another one where it's like, I mean, sure, in a full PPR 16-team league, speculate on him. For everyone else, not really worth it. And then Xavier Scott, people will talk about him. That's a pure dart throw as well. He looked good. He's a rookie. You like that upside. But, I mean, Aaron Jones will come back at some point. He'll be the passing down back. So I would say, like, if we're expecting, if, like, Aaron Jones is out, they're projected to be trailing. I don't hate him in, like, a deeper full PPR league. Like, that could be someone that at some point gets you through a bye week. But in any week that the Vikings win, which will be a lot of weeks, any week that Aaron Jones is back, you're not going to be looking to Xavier Scott. So don't really care too much about that. And I guess Tyjae Spears also isn't a bad speculative ad. He can return this week. I don't know if he's going to, but should return soon. The problem with him is, have you even wanted Pollard right now? Not really. Like Pollard has not been that great of a play. And Pollard is getting like 90% of the touches. Like the backfield is just not getting usage. Maybe that changes with Tyjae. Maybe they view him differently, can get him in space a little bit more. But if you don't even really want the guy that's getting 90%, and then you go down to like, even if it's 50-50, do you want either of these guys? No. At wide receiver, I would say the thinnest week we've had at that position. Again, Woody Marks is basically the top option we're looking at this week, but pretty thin wide receiver, but some new names to talk about. I would say that Romeo Doubs is number 1. He had his breakout game this last week, and he has been playing really well. The problem with him is, again, there's a lot of problems with a lot of these guys. It was Dallas. We knew that someone was going off and that they were going to have great passing success this week. So you got to take the performance with a grain of salt whenever you're playing Dallas. Also, Green Bay goes on bye this week. So if you were hoping to add Doubs, use him as a bye week fill-in, that's not going to happen. He's one of the guys you'll need a fill-in for. And then also, Christian Watson will return at some point mid-season. Jaden Reed will probably return by the end of the season. It's already, without those two, too crowded in Green Bay, and they're not going to play Dallas every week. So fine right now, fine short term. I've been playing him in the 14-team league and been very pleased with the production thus far, but 8, 10, 12-team leagues should be rostered, probably should be rostered. So I'd put a couple bucks on him, a few percent of your fab. I'd use a claim, not number 1, not number 2. I wouldn't really want to use a high-end claim on him, but fine. As a play, probably the number 1 wide receiver. Behind Doubs, I think it's Slayton, who does have a little bit more immediate value. Unfortunately, we have the Malik Neighbors torn ACL. He's done for the season, so that's probably going to make Slayton an every down wide receiver. And this week, they're at the Saints. So if you did need someone, you've got a couple guys on bye or injured, and you need someone in that last wide receiver spot, I don't know. I'll do the projections tomorrow. I don't know where he's going to grade out. It probably won't be as a top 30 wide receiver, but there's a chance he grades out in that 30 to 40 range. Again, Saints, mediocre defense. You're in a dome, faster pace on the Saints side that allows you to have more plays. And if he actually is going to be playing every snap, then we have some upside here. Unfortunately, after that, it's the Eagles, the Broncos, and the Eagles again. So probably 3 weeks where you're not using Slayton, no matter what the state of your team is. So don't open up the purse for Slayton too much. Behind those two, it's our boy Elic. Someone asked me, they're like, is Elic droppable? Because they kind of had him at the end of their bench. Those questions are always tough because it's well, there's too many variables, right? Technically, isn't every player besides the number 1 player in the league droppable? I mean, and truly, if there's just someone more valuable in free agency, sure, anyone's droppable if there's someone that's better. I do think that Elic is still someone that should be on teams as that last wide receiver, though. He's a rookie. He's got a rookie quarterback. Even counting the kind of dud this last week, he's still 40th in points per game. Typically, if you're in a 12-team league, kind of the top 40 wide receivers are going to be rostered. He's got red zone usage. I mean, I don't know. They're going to lean pass heavy, 95% of the time? They're going to lose. They might lose every game. They might only win 1 time or 0 times this season, so they're going to lean pass heavy. They're going to stick with him, right? If they're ever not going to stick with someone, it's Ridley. They want to see what they have in this Elic and Cam connection to see what they have moving forward. So I don't know. It's just the kind of profile of wide receiver that I would just want to have on my bench. So not great. He didn't have an amazing game, and not great that he's on the Titans. And if someone like Jordan Addison was on free agency in your league, it's obviously drop Elic for Jordan Addison. But I'm just going off of what I would typically expect to see in a 12-team league. And for the most part, I would say Elic should be rostered in a 12-team league. But that's just something that's very easily. Check the rest of the season rankings on the website. That'll answer every question you have if they're droppable or not in your league. I'll do that update tomorrow afternoon. And then I usually do 3 updates, kind of a Tuesday, a little bit on Wednesday, maybe another Friday one. But Tuesday's the big one, and I'll get that up in the afternoon. So you'll have it before you have to make decisions there for waivers. 2 other wide receivers you can consider in definitely just deeper formats are Isaiah Bond and then Demarcus Robinson. Tillman has a hamstring injury. I don't know how much time he's going to miss, if he misses any time, but he might not play this next week. Isaiah Bond, we talked about this late in the summer. He had the legal issues, and that's why he went from being a 2nd-round pick in the NFL draft to not being drafted because people were scared about that. That all gets resolved. The Browns immediately sign him, give him a really nice contract, one of the bigger contracts you could possibly expect for an undrafted free agent. So that's not an issue anymore. He pretty much immediately becomes their wide receiver 3. He's getting snaps out there. He's earning some targets. It's not like he's crushing, but he's earning some targets. And then you have a Tillman injury. So this is another player where it's this is the kind of profile of player you want to be going after. Super athletic, young rookie that they're going to want to see, is he a guy we can trust moving forward on a team that's going to be throwing the ball a lot this season. Opportunity opening up with an injury. Guys ahead of him aren't really that good. So I don't know. Like, do I think he's going to be a weekly starter in a 12-team league? Probably not. But would I be completely shocked if he turned into a flex play by the end of the season? Not really. He's still a very talented player that honestly just joined the team before the season. Like, it was not that long before the start of the season that he joined the team. And so he didn't exactly get a full camp out there. And if he's already earning snaps, I don't know. There's clearly some level of underlying talent. And the baseline, he's going to be a starting wide receiver for this team. So could he be the Browns' go-to option rest of season? At least maybe starting in a couple of weeks? Maybe. And then with Demarcus Robinson, it's really just injury related. Both Pearsall and Jawan are banged up right now, and they play Thursday. So that could be an issue for them this week. If we run into a world where it's like not enough time for both Pearsall and Jawan to be 100%, to be good to go out there on Thursday night. I mean, if you've got some buys and you had Pearsall and you're like, oh my goodness, my entire wide receiver core is ruined, you could add Demarcus Robinson, have him as like a handcuff for Pearsall, and then if those guys miss, I do think he needs to be ramped up, so I'm not 100% confident in projecting a full snap share, but if it did come out that like Demarcus Robinson was expected to play a full snap share, you'd probably play him. Like, I don't know what he projected at, but I mean, it might be in the 20 to 30 range. If you had both those guys out, if one of them played, you wouldn't have that, but he'd be like a stream-worthy option if you had these two out. So I would say if you have them and you were kind of planning on playing them on Thursday, I would just go out and get Robinson just in case. At tight end, I mean, it's pretty much the same names we've talked about. I have it ordered Brenton Strange, then Harold Fannin, then Isaiah Likely, then Darren Waller, and then Elijah Arroyo. I'm really not sure why Strange is a free agent on still so many leagues. It's not like he's a high ceiling option, but at tight end, you'll honestly take a high floor play every week. He's getting consistent targets. He's almost like their top wide receiver. And this is, in weeks where the offense isn't exactly like crushing. Like, there will be weeks where this passing offense in Jacksonville plays a lot better. And that's going to directly benefit the guy who like they trust and is playing a ton of snaps. So I just don't know why Strange is available in so many leagues, but he's still out there. So he's still the top option. And then Fannin, I think still, like, even though he had the bad game this last week, I still think he's appealing. Obviously we have this issue that like Flacco's only gonna make one more start. So the value of all Browns players is going to decrease. He makes this one more start against, I believe it's the Vikings this coming week. He will get benched after that. They'll move on to Dylan Gabriel. After that, they'll probably close the season with Shedeur Sanders, but that depends on how good Gabriel plays or how well Gabriel plays. So it's not like you're pumped about Fannin. The thing is, again, like I talked about with Isaiah Bond, they're going to go young. They're going to see what they have in these young guys. They're not trying to make the playoffs right now. They're only going to win a couple games. So I think they're going to just kind of see what they have. And part of that might be Njoku leaving. It might be them saying, okay, let's trade away David Njoku. Fannin's our guy moving forward. If that were to happen, already Fannin jumped up to like an 85% snap share this week. So he's already playing a ton of snaps. But even if you have worse quarterback play, if you just remove David Njoku and you do have Fannin as that clear top tight end, that is going to be very valuable weekly. And he's a very athletic, very high-end pass-catching tight end. So I like him long-term. I don't think right now we're really trusting him in our starting lineup. He's probably going to project as like, the tight end 15 to 20 most weeks. But moving forward, there is some upside here, even if we lose Flacco, which will decrease the quarterback play. Sort of the same for Likely, not in the sense that like Mark Andrews is being traded away, but in someone that you want to hold because there is some upside here. It probably comes mostly through injury. There's still a chance that like, because this last week with Likely, it's his first game back. There's no way he was like a heavy part of the game plan. So it's not shocking to see him not have a good game. I don't think he had a single reception, might not even been targeted. But we know that he's very athletic. We know that he's a great pass catching tight end. I don't know if we'll ever trust him while Mark Andrews is healthy, but he's a top 5. He's a top 5 tight end, probably in that like 4, 5, 6 range, we'll say, if Mark Andrews were to get injured. And there's very few tight ends you can say that about. So more so if you have it's a deeper league or you have some room for that second tight end, I would probably look to him. With Elijah Arroyo, Seahawks rookie tight end, we talked about him a lot this summer, being someone we're pretty excited about because they don't have a clear it's clearly like Kupp and Torrey Horton, but like they don't have a clear second alpha wide receiver on this team. And so if it ever became that he passes A.J. Barner, that he's getting a ton of snaps on offense, you could see Elijah Arroyo as someone that like they viewed as a clear pass catching tight end, if he gets a ton of snaps, they're going to throw him the ball a lot. And you finally saw him jump over 50% snap share this week. He was clearly part of the game plan. He was getting downfield looks. He got red zone usage. Like, it is possible he starts to overtake AJ Parner at some point here. And so there's a chance that he goes out there every week. He gets, 5 to 7 targets. He gets red zone usage on a relatively decent team. And maybe in 12-team leagues, you can kind of rely on him rest of the season. Can you do that yet? No, but again, these are kind of all stashes. And then for Darren Waller, just watch the game tonight. I doubt he's going to have any sort of real role in his first game, but if he goes out there, plays like 35% of the snaps, has like 3 schemed looks, I'll be excited because they do want him to be someone that goes out there like 60, 70% of the time, is clearly in on passing downs and gets schemed usage. They just get the ball into his hands and let him be athletic out there. I don't know if he has it anymore. We'll kind of see what he looks like, but there's upside there. So more so just watch and see what happens there. Quarterback, really only 2 options. For some reason, a lot of people dropped Justin Fields and didn't add him, even though he's going to play tonight. He's probably going to have a really good game against the Dolphins, but even if he doesn't, he gets Dallas next week. So as long as he doesn't suffer a setback, as long as he's out there, you're going to want to stream him next week against Dallas. So if for some reason people didn't add him in your league, do that. And then I think after that, you're looking at Jackson Dart. Has a great matchup next week at the Saints. The Neighbors injury does really cap his ceiling. Like, if you had a healthy Neighbors, you'd be a lot more excited about the potential for Jackson Dart, because now he's got to rely on Slayton, on Wandale, and they're fine, but they're not, wide receiver 1 and 2s. The thing with Dart is that he's very mobile, so he's going to add points with his legs, rushing touchdowns. He could sort of be like Drake May was late last season, where it was like, you're not using him every week. He's not matchup proof. But in games where we expect a lot of plays, we expect them, to do well on offense, he could be someone we're definitely streaming. So not someone that and maybe like if you have Jordan Love this week, I think Dart's going to have an okay projection at the Saints. So I think you could stream him this week. But again, not a long-term option. Don't be like adding him, assuming you're going to play him every week. Then finally, we have the defense streaming. I'll have the projections done tomorrow, so just check those really. But looking at defenses that might be available in your league, I would order them. The Cardinals versus the Titans, that's a clear top prize. The Giants at the Saints. The Colts versus the Raiders. Rams versus 49ers on Thursday night. And then the Dolphins at the Panthers. Again, Cardinals top prize, and then I would say the Giants. Those 2 are like the pretty clear top options, so that's who I'd want to be going after if you can. All right, that's a look at the Week 5 waiver wire. Good luck to everyone who needs a miracle tonight. I'll see you on Wednesday to go over my top trade targets, Thursday to go over my Week 5 rankings, and then Friday to go over my favorite underdog plays this week. Please leave a like if you are still here. Please subscribe to the channel or on Spotify if you are new, but I'll catch you all on the next one.